Hi, my name is Daniel. Welcome to my channel. I'm new in these parts, so I'm going to do the BookTube Newbie Tag. Got a list of prompts that I'm going to go through, and you can sort of get to know me and find out what you can expect of this channel. I'm sure it'll be great stuff. Number one, why did you start this channel? Mainly, booktubers come and go, and the people I watched in the past are a lot of them are no longer with us. They're not, for whatever reason, doing videos anymore. And, I thought I would hop in, fill the void for a period of time. I know there's a proliferation of, like, hundreds of channels, but, in some corners, I just really want to join in and play. So, basically, once I found my corner of BookTube, like, my personal reading exploded, and I've discovered a lot of new things I would have not have otherwise run across, and I want to share the stuff I find. So that's mainly why. And also that today is August 1st as I record this, and it is the beginning of the wonderful event Garbogust, where we read trash all month, and I really just want to get in on that. Not a host, but I am a faithful follower. So that's my answer for number one. Number two, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Like I said before, there are hundreds of other channels. So I'm not going to pretend I'm going to bring anything that new and exciting, but things that I do find. All right. So most of the books I get are used and dirt cheap, and often, kind of old and not talked about. So you're not probably going to find a lot of the new hotness on this channel, but I do find stuff like, going through grandma's attic, figuratively, and finding like treasures. That is something I always liked to do as a kid, and I still like to do it as an adult. So you can go through my figurative grandmother's attic with me if you want. Let's see. All right. What are you most excited for about this new channel? I just want to play. Um, I will also sort of use this to track my own reading. Ever since I started watching videos like a year and a half ago, my reading exploded, and like I said, I've run across a lot of cool stuff. And then when I like go thrifting and whatnot, I find treasures like The War That Time Forgot, which, if you remember your American history, is when we sent soldiers to fight the dinosaurs. So things like that I just don't see so much on BookTube, or maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. There are a few oases where you'll find like treasures such as that, but I just want to share the stuff I find that I find interesting. Okay, why do you love reading? It's cheap entertainment. It's also why I like reading over like any of the other thousands of forms of media. Is mainly when I really get into like a fictional world, or um, I want to get into the heads of the characters. I want to really like dive in there, and that's something that doesn't really happen with film anymore. Especially you don't get the internal monologue unless it's usually a really bad film. But like you just don't linger as long as I want to when I'm reading a book. Like a movie is great; it will really pull you in visually, but my imagination has a much higher FX budget, so I love reading. Um, Next question: what book or series got you into reading? As a kid, I was a huge fan of choose your own adventure books. That's probably why I got into like tabletop role playing games as another primary hobby. Um, and also Goosebumps, which since my parents were kind of against that when I was a kid, was forbidden fruit and therefore delicious. So that's mainly what got me started as a kid. But also, uh, when I was like around 12, I started really getting into a horror fiction, especially Stephen King. His book Desperation was like the first real big mammoth that I've read, and it sucked me in. And you know, it's not his best, I would say now, but for 12-year-old Daniel, that was pretty awesome. Also, Star Trek books behind me is a small taste of my collection of Star Trek fiction. Um, it I don't know why, but like, I mean, they're mostly easy reads. So when I was 12, I was just reading like one a day, which I'm a pretty slow reader. I just do it a lot, so therefore I can get through a lot in a week. But I mean, those I was able to pop down like a whole book in like one day, and I think that helped a lot with me just like making progress and like, oh yeah, reading is fun. The cool kids read, at least I do. Okay, number 9. Where do you read? I skipped a bunch of questions, so we'll come back to that one. That wasn't the next question. Number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I don't know. How do you talk to a camera and not feel super self-conscious about it? For me, like, I have it facing towards me right now, so I can make sure I stay in frame and not just like start speaking up here like this. And it has that like mirror effect when you're like looking into the mirror for too long period of time, and like your face just starts distorting. Um, it's creeping me out, to be honest. So, how do you do it? Maybe you're just narcissists. Number 7. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? I have a very loud kid, so I am currently filming this while he is away, and just carving out that time might be a little difficult because he's like glue to me, and he just wants my attention, so he's always asking, look, look, look at me, look at me. I don't know why these kids want... Come on. Can't you see I'm reading? All right. Next question was, when did you start reading, which I think we already covered. Next is, where do you read? Like I said, I have a loud kid, so I read where that kid is not usually. At least I try to. I mean, that sounds horrible when I say it out loud, but I can't have words going on behind me or around me or the TV on or anything while I'm reading. So a good chunk of my reading that I have to utilize is audiobooks, and I know I've been told 1,000 times by 1,000 people, well, audiobooks really isn't reading. I know. Listen, I'm consuming the book. There's bibliophagy happening. It is going in. I am absorbing the content. I really like audio drama and like the old radio programs, so maybe I just have a penchant for it. But yeah, I get it. It's not physically reading, but I put it under the broad spectrum of reading. I was going to make a joke, but I don't think it'd be appropriate. But I'm just thinking Bill Clinton. All right. Finally, what kind of books do you like to read? Mainly a lot of vintage science fiction. I find a lot of these like just dirt cheap. And along with that, Sword and Sorcery. Again, same thing. Like, this was like $1. And it's wonderful. I love it. So, science fiction, fantasy, particularly Swords and Sorcery. I'm drawn to like the older books. Nothing against like newer authors. Like, there's some great stuff out there, but the older stuff is where my attention is naturally drawn. So that is what you'll probably see a little bit more often. I also love horror, which every time I say that, I just feel like I'm sounding rude. Horror sounds stupid, so horror. I will work on my diction. That's something this channel will hopefully help me overcome. So That's the trifecta, and I read everything else. I mean, literary fiction sometimes when it's not pompous, uh, as well as history. I've really been getting into presidential biographies and stuff like that. So, but I think you'll see a lot more of those three, horror, science fiction, and fantasy. Finally, what does your book collection look like? A hot mess. This, even with the sagging shelves that look like a smile, that's one of my neater shelves. And looking beyond the camera, I'm seeing just a pile of books in front of a shelf, next to a pile of books in front of a different shelf, and I have a problem. Ho- Hopefully, I get through a lot more this year and start reading more than I purchase. It's sort of follows the same principles of good digestion. You want to be excreting about as much as you're eating, otherwise there's a problem there. And currently, I'm horribly constipated, so figuratively. So yeah. On that note, have a good day, and I will talk to you again later. Bye. I said goodbye.